Welcome to the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers. Today is Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. Alex Smart will join us coming up in just a few moments. Vegas Insider handicapper talks Super Bowl 56 with him. Rams and Bengals on Sunday. Also, we'll hit on some NBA and college basketball. Big news today. Reports out that C.J. McCollum going from the Trailblazers to the Pelicans in a big trade, and Portland looks like they're going to hang it up on the season and just wait for Damian Lillard to get healthy and then see what they do with all their cap space. But the Pelicans making a push now with Brandon Ingram and McCollum, and then seeing when Zion Williamson comes back, whenever he comes back. But the Pelicans looking to make a little run now to the postseason, and trade deadline coming up in just a few days in the NBA. Also want to remind you, too, before we start things off, to subscribe to our YouTube channel here at Vegas Insider. We'd greatly appreciate it. Just click on the subscribe button and you'll get all of our videos, not only for the Daily Insider, but also our best bet videos as well, to check that out. So find the subscribe button, click on it, and then you'll be all set. And it's free, so it's very easy to do. All right, before we get to Alex Smart, want to tell you all about our friends at BetMGM. They are the king of sports books, and they are now live in Louisiana. They're also in New York as well. And BetMGM offers a welcome bonus for casino and sportsbook new users. Enter the bonus code VI bonus for a $25 no deposit free casino game plus a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Enter VI bonus in the BetMGM Sportsbook app to receive a $1,000 risk-free bet for your first wager. Check it all out now. BetMGM, you could find it on the app as well as betmgm.com. It is now live in New York and Louisiana, and you can find it in those states, and you will be very, very pleased with them. BetMGM, they are the king of sports books. All right, let's get it started. Alex Smart, as he joins us every Tuesday during football season. And Alex, good to see you again. And we're getting closer towards Super Bowl 56. And any leans right now? Anything? Is your opinion changed on anything after seeing the opening line come out?
No. Well, I think some sharp money possibly has decided that, there's a change in attitudes here about, the amount of or the point spread. But from my opinion, I pretty well had made my opinion up fairly shortly as soon as the opening lines came out, and I decided that I was going to pull the trigger on the side.
Yeah, and I actually, Alex, at first I like the under just because we've seen some unders the last few years. I know you shouldn't just dictate it on that, but we've seen 3 straight unders in the Super Bowls. A little lower of a total here. I mean, my problem is I just don't know how much the Bengals are going to they're not going to be in a shootout with the Rams. The Rams don't play like that. In spite of all the offensive weapons for the Rams, I just don't think that they're going to play a shootout that'll be more of a defensive style game.
Well, when I first looked at the total, I thought to myself, probably the same thing you were thinking, but that this total seemed a little low, but at the same time, maybe not so low because of what we just mentioned about the last few Super Bowls. But once again, this is a public game, very public game. And we could see a lot of overwagers here as time goes on, and the books may have no choice but to continue to adjust in an upward motion. So, if you are interested in an under, possibly something to consider waiting a little bit longer.
Now, as far as props go, is there anything that you've been keying on? Any advice for props that either player props, team props, any of the crazy props, anything there catch your eye?
No, you know what? It was one of those years where, some years I do, like I always make the joke, if it moves, I'll hit it. And there wasn't anything that really stood out to me. I know that there are some really sharp prop bettors out there, but from my angle, I thought the books did a fantastic job here, and we're almost to a flip of the coin kind of situation, and from my perspective, anyway.
Yeah, because there's so many of them, and I did a video for Vegas Insider yesterday for the quarterbacks. And one of them that I really liked, Alex, was Joe Burrow under 1.5 touchdown passes. A lot of people are going to go to the Burrow. He's going to light it up because there's this love fest with him, which is fine. He's played so well. But the Rams have not allowed more than 2 touchdown passes in any game this season. And I got to think that will keep up. Also, I want your opinion on this. The Rams playing at home. I know they're not technically the home team in this game, but advantage, disadvantage, not having to travel, distractions. What do you think about that with the Rams having to play at SoFi?
Well, I think you just mentioned it right off the bat. There are a lot of distractions of being at home during the Super Bowl, being a traveling team. I think you might be able to limit your interaction with, to an extent with the media. But I think it's just nonstop for a home team. And I think it started directly after that last game. But, I really do think, the Rams, of course, deserve to be favorites here. Whether the line is correct or not, then, that's something we'll get decided here, I guess, at the end of Sunday night.
Yeah, and the other one too, Alex, that we don't really see it that often. I feel like looking back in the history, you don't see a lot of underdogs that cover in losses. And I get that you're a bigger underdog, so that if you're a 7-point dog, we've seen those before covering losses. But looking back at it, Tampa Bay won outright against Kansas City last year. Eagles over the Patriots a few years ago. Denver over Carolina. Then there was a 3-year stretch. Seattle, Baltimore, and the Giants all won outright. That I feel like, at least me personally, I don't know if you agree or not, I don't think the points matter in this game. I feel like if Cincinnati is going to cover, they're going to win the game. They're not going to lose this game by 3 points or less.
Yeah, historically, you had some nice numbers on that you picked up last time we spoke. And over the years, too, it's interesting. Over the last, just from a straight ATS perspective, not considering what we're talking about right now, I think it's a 500 percentage, isn't it? It's like 26 and 26 ATS. I think it is over the last 52 years, just from a points perspective.
And you know what, too? I mean, here are the numbers. Favorites are 36 and 18 straight up, 29, 21, and 2 against the spread. Now, again, that's over the years. That's not I mean, just looking back at it, Alex, it's a lot of underdog favorites, underdog favorite, underdog. But like I mentioned, the last time we saw an underdog that covered in a loss was Arizona against Pittsburgh back in 2009 in Super Bowl. What is that? Is that 40? The Roman numerals throw me off. 43. And then before that, New England went back-to-back years when they beat Carolina and Philadelphia, didn't cover in wins. But there's a lot of underdogs that win outright. I guess more my point is, if you like the Bengals, you might as well just go with the money line because I just don't think the points are going to matter.
That that is a good perspective. From my perspective, being conservative in nature, I would sprinkle a little bit of money on both sides of that if that was my perspective. Because you're going to make money on either end, right? You're going to make money. I mean, you're going to make more money, obviously, with a straight up underdog bet, but you're still going to make money. And I'm not a greedy individual, so I agree with what you're saying. Yes.
I'm assuming you're not a coin flip person, that you don't like betting on the coin flip.
No, I don't like betting on the coin flip at all. Absolutely.
I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous. Personally, I know it's a very popular bet, but I see things that the Gatorade color, and some of these other things I just think you're just guessing. Like nobody has any clue what color the Gatorade is. Do you like any of the cross sport props? Are any of those interest you?
I looked across the board, and it was the craziest thing this year. I just couldn't see anything that stood out to me. And maybe after I look at it for a few more days, there might be something, because, I usually do throw some dollars, some investment money towards that, but not this year. Not for me anyway.
Because the only good thing about the cross sport props, Alex, is that at least you have like 2 games in a sense, or 2 events, I guess would be the correct term, that you're looking at. And one of them is the NCAA tournament that they have. The Westgate out in Vegas put out a lot of these props of, one of them I liked is Joe Mixon first rushing attempt versus Purdue tournament wins. And Joe Mixon, he can run for 2 yards, but also if he runs for 6 yards, you're probably winning that, considering Purdue can only win 6 games in the tournament.
Yeah, that's some good work on your end. Absolutely, yeah, makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah. Well, I will say it's only good work if it's a winner, but if not, if he rushes for minus 2 yards, then it was a terrible pick.
Yeah, but that's what it always is. Yeah, for sure.
That's all. People say, "Oh, you did a good job," but at the same time, it's like, well, he ran for minus 4 yards, so it really didn't do much. But I want to move on, Alex, to a little bit of NBA. And what are your thoughts on this trade with the Blazers and the Pelicans that we see CJ McCollum now going to New Orleans? Pelicans, good job by them to try to get a little more boost there. They're playing all right. They're kind of on the fringe of the playoffs. But as far as Portland, totally pulled the plug on the season.
Yeah, the chemistry wasn't there. The team was not consistent. They weren't performing with McCollum in the lineup or out. I mean, there were bursts, but this was not the same Portland team that overperformed last season. And this to me is obviously, like you said, they're just throwing in the towel. It's the end of the game. But what's interesting with the Pelicans is what does that tell us about Zion? Where is he going to be? Is he going to come back and finish off the year because of his financial situation? It makes me wonder, is his return imminent now?
It's so funny because everyone talks about how Zion is the face of the franchise. This is the guy, and he's been out with this foot injury. Brandon Ingram's an excellent player. And the Pelicans, they started off really poorly this season. They're 21-32, which isn't great, but at the same time, they've won 3 in a row. Now they have Ingram healthy again. You have McCollum, who's a proven scorer. They're 10th right now. They're right ahead of Portland for that play-in game. And you look at it, what's so funny is, Alex, right now, if the playoffs started today, theory, Pelicans are 10, Minnesota 7. And Minnesota has made a nice run. They have some good young talent. But the winner of that game would get the winner of 8-9. Off the top of your heads, you know who the 8-9 matchup is in the West?
No.
Clippers-Lakers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the Clippers, you don't know when Kawhi is coming back. You don't know when Paul George is coming back. The Lakers with all of their mess. So whoever comes out of that first play-in game, then it's like, oh, well, here's the Clippers and Lakers trying to beat them once.
Right on. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. The Pelicans are 4.5 back of the Lakers, so they're not catching them. And you got to think the Lakers are eventually going to make some kind of move. I mean, eventually, though. Yeah. But I want your thoughts now. Let's go back to this game, this Magic Blazers game. And without McCollum, because I saw this line earlier this morning, and Portland was laying 3. And also I saw a pick 'em. I'm like, who's out for Portland? Like, they're running out of guys. Who else can they? Yeah. So Norman Powell got traded to the Clippers. Covington got traded to the Clippers. Now McCollum's going to the Pelicans. Orlando has, what are they? 12-43. They have the worst record in basketball, and they're laying points on the road. What does that tell you?
Yeah, I think the early line that we've gotten overnight would have been great, and that's what I was looking at. Blazers lost 5 straight. They're not playing well, and we saw where their minds were at and what they were going to do. So they acted. And now we've got a situation. I just could never lay money with the Magic, no matter what. I just couldn't. I can't bring myself to doing something like that.
And it's a simple rule to follow in life. Just don't play points with the Magic. Don't do it.
Just basically,
stay away from them.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah.
All right.
Bad teams, bad results. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a complete mess. All right. One last game I want to get to before we let you go in college basketball. SEC tonight. Auburn and Arkansas. Auburn, listen, but Georgia somehow beat Alabama for their only win. Alabama, who beat 3 Final Four teams already this year from last year. They beat Alabama. They almost beat Auburn, and Auburn totally escapes with their life against Georgia the other day. So Auburn only 1 loss in the season. They've been great under Bruce Pearl. Now you go to Arkansas. Arkansas had a slow start in the SEC. They've come back to life now. What do you think here with the Tigers facing the Razorbacks and Auburn trying to put that Georgia game kind of in their rearview mirror after they almost lost that one Saturday?
Well, you've got 2 angles that you look at here. You can look at a team that's won 22 games and just played all out basketball and they may be exhausted. or you may be looking at an Auburn team that was looking ahead to this game. You can pick and choose which way you want to go here. Arkansas is definitely a team, they've been winning lately. They've put a nice run together. But one thing I have noticed about this game, whether winners or losers are included in this concept or not, but these teams, I looked at the projection here, and I think what we're expecting, the lines makers are obviously expecting, is a very close game. And then we're looking at a total in around 150, 151, depending where you're going to lay your money. And, my projections say that both teams are going to score in around 75 points plus. So we're looking at an over. So I went and I looked at some more things here quickly, looking at Auburn and from a historical level. And, they've gone over 14 straight times when they themselves and their opponents score 75 or more points. And it's close to 179 points go on the board in those games, just under 180. Now, Arkansas, when they get involved in a game with 75 or more points, they've gone over 12 of the last 13, and they've put 167.7 points on the board combined with their opponents. So, it's an interesting angle for everybody to look at tonight, the over on this game. I'm not going to put it out there, but something to look at.
Arkansas, Alex, I told you they had that bad start. They lost to Vandy at home out of the gate. They've won 8 straight. That all of a sudden, I feel like Arkansas is a little forgotten in the SEC because of Kentucky, the way they play. They just beat Alabama the other night, what Auburn has done. Tennessee's played very well. But Arkansas, it's like they're just riding, under the radar. The thing I will say about Arkansas, I don't want to take anything away from them. Eric Musselman does a great job, but here's who they've beaten so far during this winning streak. Missouri, LSU, fine, look good, and now LSU's kind of they've fallen apart. South Carolina, Texas A&M in overtime, Mississippi, West Virginia in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, whatever it's called, and West Virginia's fallen off. Georgia, Mississippi State. So they haven't really faced any of the elite teams of the SEC. Just putting that one out there. I don't want to take away from them, but it has to be said they're not beating Kentucky or Auburn during the stretch.
Yeah, definitely. And this will be a big test for them. It's never easy to play in the SEC on the road. And this gym is pretty interesting. The crowds are pretty loud, but it's like that across the SEC. So it's interesting. Like I said, which way is it going to go? Is it Auburn exhausted after their huge run, or were they just looking ahead and they're just going to pound Arkansas silly? You can decide.
I couldn't, I had to look this up for a second. I couldn't even remember this, Alex, that Auburn's only loss came in triple overtime to UConn back in late November. Like, couldn't even remember that was their only loss.
Wow, crazy.
That was a long time ago, because you think, they probably lost to Gonzaga in non-conference play, because everybody loses to Gonzaga in non-conference play, but it was UConn who beat them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's also interesting, Arkansas's owned this series here at home. They've won 17 of 21 games dating back to 1997. So it's been pretty lopsided here. Auburn has grabbed a win recently over the last couple of seasons, but yeah, something also to consider here when you're looking at this.
Yeah, Arkansas beat them twice last year, in fact, too. Yeah. So, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And Arkansas, definitely, they're going to be up for this game. I mean, obviously, so will Auburn, because they're number one in the country. But very interesting matchup there in Fayetteville tonight. Alex Smart, you could find his picks on Vegas Insider. And Alex has done a great job with the NFL, college basketball, NBA. You can find his NFL pick. He's got a side for the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. So you can find that on Vegas Insider, as well as NBA and college basketball picks. Alex, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Kevin. Take care, buddy.
All right, you too. There is Alex Smart, and I always like talking to him. And, we'll talk more NBA coming up in just a moment. That trade with the Pelicans and the Blazers, with CJ McCollum going to New Orleans. And apparently, from what ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted out a little while ago, that the Blazers are going to build around Damian Lillard. They're not going to trade him, because that's been the talk since the offseason, that Lillard would get traded, but instead it's McCollum who gets traded, and then they're going to try to build around Lillard. But the question is, who's going to want to go to Portland? And that's kind of a tough place to really sell free agents on. And obviously McCollum was drafted by the Blazers, so was Lillard. But, who are they going to get to go out there? They're going to have plenty of money, but you kind of wonder what's going to happen with that. DraftKings, the championship series. Check it out now at DraftKings.com. The GOAT, he's wandering around. He's still in Louisiana. He's loving his time there. He may actually get a CJ McCollum jersey once that trade's official. Wear that walking around the streets of New Orleans. But DraftKings is legal in Louisiana now, amongst other states. And the DraftKings Championship Series is the ultimate competition of contest winners from daily fantasy sports, sportsbook, and casino. The one and only place you can compete in the king of competitions. The best of the best in each domain will compete for series supremacy in their own domain's tournament of champions. They'll have one goal in mind: win the ultimate crown and earn the title of the greatest of all time, the GOAT. That's right. You can check it out now at DraftKings.com. It is their championship series. You can wear that crown just like our friend on the screen. All right. Let's take a look now at NBA and some college for tonight since, again, can't have football every day, so we got to change it up. Suns and the 76ers, that'll tip off the NBA tonight. Pretty good game in Philadelphia. And the Sixers here are short favorite after their win at Chicago. Phoenix also won at Chicago last night. Suns didn't cover. The Bulls went on a run at the end of that game. Phoenix won 127-124. So it's now 3 overs in the past 4 games for the Suns. And Philadelphia, they snapped a 2-game skid by beating Chicago on Sunday, 119-108. And the 76ers, they are playing better at home in spite of that 14-11 record at Wells Fargo. They've won 4 straight at home, Philadelphia. So that's a good sign, even though they faced the Lakers without LeBron. They faced the Kings without De'Aaron Fox. But they did beat, they won 4 straight. They won 4 of 5, excuse me, because they lost that Washington game. Let me correct myself on that one. But they beat Memphis without Joel Embiid. So, look, Philadelphia is always going to play well at home. And now they get Phoenix tonight. Phoenix with the games at Chicago last night. Tonight, Philly. And then they play Milwaukee at home coming up on Thursday. NBA Finals rematch. So, Phoenix in a nice little stretch here. And the Suns did beat the 76ers twice last year. That game, if I'm not mistaken, that was the game in Philadelphia. Joel Embiid threw up that 80-footer at the buzzer that bounced off the backboard and the rim, whatever it was, off the missed free throw. So Philadelphia looking to get some revenge against Phoenix coming up tonight. The Celtics and the Nets in Brooklyn. All right, so the Nets, we know they've completely fallen apart. But James Harden, he will not play tonight. Kyrie Irving can't play because he's not vaccinated. The game's in New York. So the Nets now, they have dropped 8 in a row. They're off that 5-game road trip. Losses at Golden State, Phoenix, Sacramento, Utah, and Denver. And the last time they won a game was at San Antonio on January 21st. So it's been a while for the Nets. And they get the Celtics, who are fabulous defensively. They've won 5 straight. They've allowed 83, 93, 107, 92, and 97 in the last 5 games. So Boston's defense playing well. Playoff rematch from last year. You know that the Nets took care of the Celtics. So important game for Boston because they don't want to lose to this Brooklyn team again. But the Nets with basically no bodies left, considering their big 3 is out. The Pacers and the Hawks in Atlanta. Karis LeVert traded to Cleveland the other day, so the Pacers losing one of their guns. Indiana's lost 3 straight. They were big in that game at Cleveland, lost 98-85 to the Cavaliers. Indiana goes to Atlanta tonight. Hawks off back-to-back losses at Toronto and Dallas. And the Hawks, after that nice winning streak, they've lost 3 of 4. The only win came against Phoenix, which is a good one. But the Hawks, they are laying 10.5 here against the Pacers. They last played in early December. Atlanta was a 2.5-point dog in Indianapolis. Now the Hawks are laying 10.5 here in the return visit. Hawks looking to beat them again. Clippers and the Grizzlies from Memphis. Grizzlies laying 7.5. And Memphis at 37-18 off back-to-back wins at New York and Orlando. And again, the Grizzlies just playing very well. The Clippers, they've dropped 2 of 3. And they just got blown out by the Bucks back on Sunday, 137-113 at home. 3 straight overs for the Clippers. Memphis, they have played the Clippers already 3 times this season, and the over is sitting all 3 games on a 225.5, a 220, and a 214.5. Now you're back to 227.5. So you're in the highest total between these teams. Last time, 123-108 win for Memphis in LA. All 3 times this year, the Grizzlies have scored 120 or more against the Clippers. The Rockets and the Pelicans, CJ McCollum not going to play tonight, obviously, because they just made the trade, or they're going to make the trade, but it's not official yet. Houston at 15-38, New Orleans at 21-32. Rockets just played the Pelicans 2 nights ago, lost 120-107, and New Orleans closed a 6.5-point road favorite. Houston, now they are 1-6 the last 7. They're 1-5 ATS the last 6, so has not been good for them. But they are 3-1 against the spread their last 4 on the road. New Orleans back at home after a 3-1 road trip, so they ended well, winning at Houston, Denver, and Detroit. Also, New Orleans on a 5-0-1 run to the under. Rockets and Pelicans have split 2 meetings so far this season. The Pistons and the Mavericks in Dallas. First meeting between these teams this season. Dallas has been a great under team at home. And they just hit a couple unders against Atlanta and Philadelphia. But Dallas here laying 11.5. They were a dog in both those games against Philadelphia and Atlanta. Now the Mavericks a heavy favorite. And Detroit failed to cover in a 13-point loss at Minnesota back on Sunday. Detroit's lost 4 straight, 8 of 9. And on the road recently, they've allowed 118, 119, 117, 111, 131. So see if that one goes over the total, maybe. Knicks and the Nuggets in Denver, and the Knicks with no rest after losing Utah last night, so never easy to play with no rest. And the Nuggets did beat the Knicks last time they faced each other at Madison Square Garden. Nuggets were a short dog. Now the Nuggets favored here. Denver snapped a 3-game skid. They beat Brooklyn on Sunday, 124-104. Covered as 8-point favorites in that one. Kind of a tight game early, then Denver opened up in the second half. Knicks so far, back-to-back losses to start their road trip at the Lakers, at the Jazz. Both games that they were playing well in, and that things fell apart in the end. But for the Knicks now, they have lost 6 of 7. And it's 1-8 the last 9 away from the Garden. So that's not good for New York. Bucks and the Lakers, pretty good game out at Crypto.com Arena. And Milwaukee laying 3.5 here. The Bucks did beat the Lakers earlier this year, 109-102. Lakers were getting 9 in that game. And LeBron didn't play in that one for the Lakers. But that total 223.5. This went up to 232.5. In fact, 6 straight unders in the series between these two teams. And it's kind of unfair because LeBron didn't play in the last 2 meetings. Anthony Davis didn't play in the last meeting in LA. So Milwaukee hasn't really gotten the healthy Laker team when they faced them. Now, the Bucks offense has looked really good its first 2 games here on the road trip. At Portland, 137, at the Clippers, 137. So good job there by Milwaukee. Lakers with LeBron back in the lineup after they beat the Knicks in overtime. He had a triple-double in that game. And the Lakers, look, we mentioned this with Alex Smart. They're the 9 right now in the West. They'll be technically in the play-in or the playoffs, the play-in tournament. Lakers got to hope that they go on a little run and just get out of that, get to the 6, get into the top 6. We'll see if they do that. Lakers 17-12 at home, Bucks at 15-12 on the road. The final NBA game we'll look at, the Timberwolves and the Kings in Sacramento. They're going to play a couple times out there. And Minnesota won the first meeting, a low-scoring game in Minneapolis earlier this season, 107-97, under 227.5. It's a nice total, 234.5. And Minnesota, they're rolling. They've won 4 in a row. They're the 6th seed right now in the West. Sacramento has won 2 of 3. Now, granted, they beat Oklahoma City. They beat Brooklyn, but you know what? That was a good win because they held James Harden to 4 points in that game. Kyrie played. So you got a decent Nets team in that one. The Kings have covered 4 or 5, so they're playing a little better. De'Aaron Fox is still hurt, but they're playing. Look, we know Sacramento has had problems for a very long time as far as trying to get in the playoffs, but right now they're getting 4.5 this evening against Minnesota, and the Timberwolves. Not a great ATS team on the road. They were on an 0-7 stretch before they won at Detroit by 11 last week. So Minnesota still struggled covering games on the road. All right, college basketball and a few games we'll take a look at tonight. North Carolina and Clemson, they meet at Little John Coliseum tonight. Carolina off that 20-point loss to Duke on Saturday. That snapped a 4-game winning streak. This is a little more up North Carolina's alley, considering the losses they have in conference have come to Duke, Wake, Miami, Notre Dame, some of the top teams in the league, where Clemson has really struggled. Clemson off that loss to Georgia Tech Saturday. They now are 2-5 the last 7. So Clemson, and they beat Florida State last week at home, but still, I don't know how much I really trust this Tigers team against North Carolina tonight. Clemson, they did beat North Carolina last year at home as a short dog. Now they're listed as a short favorite. In the Big East, Marquette and UConn, that's a 6:30 matchup in stores. I'll give Shaka Smart a ton of credit because Marquette was not playing well out of the gate. They lost that game to Creighton in overtime, the game they blew. They were down. They came all the way back. They should have won in overtime. Creighton hit a 3 to tie it in the first overtime, and then Creighton ended up winning the second overtime. But Marquette since then has won 8 of 9. They only lost coming by 2 to Providence, who's been really good this year. And Marquette off another win over Villanova by 10. They beat Villanova twice already, Marquette. Now, UConn, they have dropped 2 in a row, falling to Creighton as 10.5-point favorites and losing at Villanova. So Connecticut looking to get on track. Connecticut won at Marquette back in Big East play early on, 78-70. So a nice revenge spot here for the Golden Eagles. But still, Marquette playing very well. UConn has slipped a little bit. Auburn and Arkansas, we mentioned this game earlier. And Auburn only 1 loss so far in the season. Arkansas beat them twice last year. Tough matchup, very tough one. Arkansas, they've come back to life after that tough start in SEC play. And again, what I mentioned with Alex Smart is they haven't really beaten a lot of great foes inside of the conference. LSU is a good win. I'm not going to penalize them for the LSU win, considering LSU has kind of fallen off. But Missouri, Mississippi State's decent. But they did lose at Mississippi State early on in conference play and then beat them again at home. But Georgia, Ole Miss, South Carolina, beat Texas A&M in overtime. So they kind of got the lower tier teams, or at least, not some of the elites of the conference. And right now, looking at the Southeastern Conference standings, again, let's say this. Okay, so Georgia is 1-9 in the conference. Ole Miss 3-7, Missouri 3-6, Vandy 4-6, who they lost to. South Carolina 4-6. I don't know. South Carolina's won 4 games. Alabama at 4-6, A&M at 4-6, LSU at 4-6, Florida at 5-5. So Arkansas 7-3. They're 3 behind Auburn for first. But man, they've beaten up on a lot of those teams in the middle and below in the conference. Just stating the facts. That's it. Final game we'll look at in the Big Ten, Wisconsin and Michigan State. And that game in East Lansing, Michigan State, who just got punched in the face by Rutgers the other day. And look, for Tom Izzo, this Michigan State team still at 17-5, still playing well. But look, you can't be losing by 21 at Rutgers. They've lost to Rutgers, Northwestern. They got a couple rough losses, Michigan State, this year. Now, Wisconsin, they were blown out by Illinois, but then came back and beat Penn State by 2 in a not-so-exciting game, 51-49 on Saturday. Wisconsin is 0-5 against the spread their last 5 games. So the Badgers went on a nice run, and now they've gone backwards as far as from an ATS standpoint. Michigan State 1-5 against the spread their last 6 as a favorite. And Michigan State did win at Wisconsin last month, 86-74 3-point dogs. Now the Spartans are laying points, which they normally do at home, but now they're flipped to a home favorite in this spot. All right, BetMGM. They are the king of sports books, and we tell you about them all the time. They are legal now in Louisiana as well as New York. And BetMGM is offering a welcome bonus for casino and sportsbook new users. Enter the bonus code VIBONUS for a $25 no deposit free casino game plus a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Enter VI bonus in the BetMGM Sportsbook app to receive a $1,000 risk-free bet for your first wager. Check it all out now at BetMGM.com. They are the king of sports books. All right, my thanks to Alex Smart for joining us today here on the Daily Insider. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the Vegas Insider YouTube channel. We would greatly appreciate it. Just look for the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen and click on that. Also, check out our newsletters as well at Vegas Insider. Sign up for those, and that'll hook you up with some really great things as well. So you can find that on Vegas Insider. And again, the subscribe button, subscribe, like the videos. We would greatly appreciate it. Not only the Daily Insider, but also our best bet videos as well, and the Great Day Nation. They have their videos too. And Eli Manning's going to be on the Great Day Nation this week with Morton Anderson. So looking forward to that. So you can find those videos and also watch some of the archive videos as well. Steve Tasker was on last week. Bob Costas was on in the last few weeks. So a lot of good videos there. Find those on our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for tuning in to this edition of the Daily Insider. We'll be back with you at noon Eastern tomorrow. And as always, best of luck with your bets.